I will give you my Cardano price prediction for the next bull run and Bitcoin right here.
What is going on, Cardano community? Welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, as a part of today's video, I've got a very well-known guest within the crypto and blockchain community, and that is going to be DEEZY, who is also the host of ATB, or Around the Blockchain. On top of that, he is the co-founder of various NFT projects, which we're not going to be diving too deep into today, but we are going to be talking about something that he's kind of got behind the works. DEEZY, welcome to the channel. How you doing, man?
Man, doing fantastic. Appreciate you having me on. I've always been a fan of DApp Central, what you guys do to educate in the space. So I'm just stoked to be here.
Man, thank you so much. And we had a brief run-in at two actual events. I believe I got to meet you very briefly at CNFTCon and at Rare Bloom. And so it was really cool to kind of see you interacting with the Cardano community. How did you find those events to be?
All right. Well, I want to get your 2 cents on that too. They were very different events. You know, one was in Vegas, one was in Denver. The one in Vegas, from what I heard, it was a lot of people having a pretty good time. It's Vegas, so what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So, we won't comment on the Vegas one too much. Hope to see you guys out there next year. But the one in Denver, also good. It was definitely more for the builders, less for the collectors, more for the people maybe working in the industry. And it was funny hearing the hotel staff assessment of the conference, in which they basically said there's a certain aroma permeating the air more so than they've ever experienced, even more so than things that are actually focused on that. It stunk worse at Cardano than it did at those things. I found that interesting.
Yeah, I would definitely have to say that that took me by surprise too. I didn't realize how many clubs dealing with that type of stuff there were within the Cardano ecosystem.
I didn't know those NFT projects like that existed. I'm like, hey, they're literally everywhere.
Yeah,
Trucks and it was over the top.
I will say it
mile
was
high,
very much so. And like you said, what happens in Vegas kind of stays there. So I definitely enjoyed my time there. Rare Bloom was awesome. The views were great. The food was awesome. And then also getting to actually meet Ben from, the channel there in person was really cool. I got to run into him with another buddy of mine as we were setting up for the event, and he was doing some shopping with his wife. So I was able to sneak a picture. We'll see if I can probably add that to this video here, once it goes live. But that was a really enjoyable experience. And then obviously getting to see you again after we just had that run in at Vegas was also cool. So hopefully you'll be there next year. And hopefully Ben will be there again. I know that I enjoyed seeing the both of you, and then also watching Ben and Charles have the nice conversation for that speech that he did.
Yeah, and I was on stage at a Rare Bloom, and hey, maybe one day I can get to the point where I'm on stage with Charles. One can hope, If I got to learn falconing, I'll learn falconing. I'll do what I have to do.
So, guys, I have to tell you, even before I hit the record button, this guy has just been making me laugh the entire time. I could only imagine what it feels like to work with you.
Hey, don't tell him about me showing you my micro. Hey, anyways, that's a thank you. Appreciate that.
Not a problem. Not a problem. I do want to give a brief shout out to Delta Bay Matt, who was actually the one that shouted me out in the tweet that you had, kind of opening your self up to some of these interviews, right? So without Matt tagging me on there, I definitely would not be having you on here. I want to, shout him out. And then again, thank you for your time, DEEZY. So without taking up any more time for all the viewers that are watching, I just want to quickly break down today's agenda. And then I'm going to turn it back over to DEEZY to kind of get his thoughts on the current market. We're going to be talking about Cardano and all that good stuff. So we're going to kick things off first with an introduction. We're just going to get a little bit of the background from DEEZY and his current role within the crypto ecosystem. We're then going to pivot gears and talk a little bit about the current market. And we're going to give our thoughts on the cycles and where we currently stand. Are we in the cusp of a brand new bull market, or is this just a bear trap in the midst of a bear market? And then after that, we're going to be talking about current market trends, which include AI adoption and NFT growth. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Cardano and then our experiences specifically as to the Cardano ecosystem, what's good and what could be improved. And then in closing, we've got some alpha on an upcoming NFT marketplace being developed by DEEZY called Voomio. Without us taking up any more time, DEEZY, do you mind giving us a little bit about your background and what you do for the blockchain and crypto space?
Yeah, those who don't know, I come from an esports background. I was a professional Magic the Gathering player and streamer before I got into crypto. I was in the Twitch world for a couple years before I finally broke out of there. I found myself ever increasingly obsessed with crypto. So, I stream 7 days a week, putting out regular content. I had the world's #1 MTG TikTok I blew that up before that was a thing. So I was pretty successful. I was one of the top streamers in the top time slot, the most competitive time slot, midday. And I found myself distracted. I was in leverage trades during my stream. I'm literally looking at trading view 1 minute chart while I'm trying to play Magic the Gathering at the world's highest level against some of the world's smartest people. I'm talking chess grandmasters, poker bracelet winners, and I'm sitting here looking at Bitcoin and ETH. I was leverage trading ETH. I'm sitting here watching ETH on the 1 minute while I'm sitting here trying to have this highly complex game on the left side while trying to entertain my Twitch audience. And eventually my obsession just became too fierce where I had to switch gears. And I saw that they were actually building a trading card game at the BitBoy channel, maybe behind the scenes for an NFT project. So I just shot my shot. I DM'd the CEO. I said, look, here's my background. Here's what I can do for you. I see that you're building a trading card game. Let me come to Atlanta. Let me show you what I can do. And they said, come out for a week or two, or actually they said for a day. Hey, come out for a day or so, see if it works out. I just drove out here and got a hotel for a week. Ended up working out, got a hotel second week. Then I moved into the Hit Network House, which is kind of the corporate thing that owns BitBoy Crypto. And the rest is history. My third day there, we basically decided, all right, we're not going to do the NFT trading card game anymore. I'm like, well, that's what I came here for. And they said, all right, you got a new job. We're creating a show. It's going to be like Around the Horn, but it's going to be for blockchain. And we want you to coordinate guests, pick topics, maybe think of the layout. I said, oh, you want a producer? You want me to produce the show? And they said, yes. We knew we hired you for a reason. And I put that on my shoulders, and I was a full-time ATB producer for the first probably 3 to 4 months before I became a guest. And then very quickly after that, I started hosting it. And then now I'm the face of ATB, for better or worse. For the worse for the audience, but better for me probably.
No, it's definitely been for the better of the audience, DZ. I've got to say, your energy is like through the roof, man. I thought I was an energetic person, and having you here just speaking naturally, man, you have high energy levels, and I think that's what contributes to having all these different shows that you host be so interesting to watch. So I just
I'm
wanted to
an
point that out.
extrovert. Like if I'm home alone, I will lose some energy. Me and my girlfriend, we went and visited her family, and we went to her sister's house, and her sister, all of a sudden, all these people came in, and I felt my body literally get energized. And I was like, this is like literally a week ago. And I was like, okay, there's, more proof that I guess there's something to this, introvert extrovert thing. So yeah, when the cameras are on and the 4 guests are right there, it's like, all right, I got to bring it for 45 minutes. I can do that.
Yeah.
I'm awake for 17 hours a day. I can, increase the level for, brief periods here and there.
No, I think you do an amazing job. And for people who are watching this, and if they haven't actually heard of ATB, I'd be highly surprised. But I believe you guys go live. Is it every day at 5 o'clock p.m.
Monday
Eastern?
through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. It's on its own channel. We moved January 2nd, just to kind of separate it. Confusing the audience a little bit, having it with like Ben's truck records. You're like, maybe they're looking for one thing but not the other, whether it's ATB or Ben in the truck. So we were just like, all right, let's separate it. Let's get the branding a little bit more concise. And so yeah, it's we're on the new channel. With that, obviously less subs because we started, it's a brand new channel. So we went from 1.5 million subs to 0 subs. But immediately out the gate, we were hitting about 10K per video. We're bear market views were around 30, 40. So we've already captured about 25, about almost 33% of that prior audience. And we see us catching up to back to where we were, 30K, 40K of views. And then as we get to the bull run, hey, on the BitBoy channel, we hit 250,000 views per episode every
Jeez.
now and then. It depends if Bitcoin had a crazy day. But
Right, right.
Bitcoin had, double digit move, 250,000 views. And so, hey, I think we can capture that audience yet again. We're just building right now.
Right, right. And it seems like at least over the past month or so, I'm not sure about your guys' channel, but views are starting to kind of climb back up with the recent price increase of Bitcoin.
Yeah, Bitcoin having its best January in 10 years will do that.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that, and again, shout out to what you guys are doing and all the different co-hosts that you work with to bring us super timely content, almost literally every single day. So now that we have the introduction out of the way, let's shift gears and talk a little bit about the current market. As we just kind of mentioned, the price of Bitcoin has trekked up, I want to say about 30 to 40%, and it's been really interesting to see how much excitement the community has had, especially within Cardano, right? So I focus a lot within Cardano, but the intensity with which people switched from being bearish to bullish kind of blew my mind. So I want to get your 2 cents. Where do you think we stand with the recent pump? Are we still in a bear? Are we still in a bull? Or are we going into the bull? What are your thoughts on that?
I may have called the bottom. I'm just going to say it. I may have
Really?
called the bottom in November.
Mm-hmm.
I base everything off a 4-year cycle. I think we'll talk about that shortly. And due to that, I almost called the top. I called the top within 2 weeks, a year in advance. I said
Mm-hmm.
it was going to be the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I had this whole thesis about, there's a narrative I remember in 2017 that Bitcoin's going to pump Christmas and Thanksgiving because the nerdy cousin is going to tell the uncle and the dad and the sisters, and it's going to tell the whole family to buy Bitcoin. They're going to market buy it, and we're going to go to the moon. So I remember thinking of that narrative as we were heading into 2021. And so late 20, early 21, I just kind of basically said, I don't think it's going to be Christmas. 4-year cycle is technically 3 years, 10 months. And I see that narrative playing out the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Everyone's going to think it's going to pump Thanksgiving. Smart people are going to sell it 24 hours in advance. Well, it ended up being about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, but I called the top. And with that same 4-year narrative, I maybe called the bottom. I put out a tweet. You can check my Twitter where it was around the middle of November. I think it was 15,900 when I was making the tweet. And it was saying, guys, if we look at the 4-year cycle, if we look at the amount of days after all-time high, when does it bottom typically? If we look at the amount of days from the halving cycle, when does it bottom? If we look at the amount of days just from the next cycle, not from the previous, but to the next, all these numbers started to line up where, guys, it looks like, about a year after all-time high, we're going to be experiencing all-time low. Currently, we're below 16,000. I'm not saying, I'm betting my entire farm on this being the very bottom, but guys, I think it's the bottom. And here's why. And, I put up a lot of data. I put up, I'm counting daily candles like, hey, 391, 2014, it was 383, 2012. Guys, we're at 386. It kind of correlates. And so, I as we get further and further away from November, as we get further and further away from 16,000, at a certain point, you have to say that was the bottom. And it's going to be different for everybody. Some people are saying, I already know that was the bottom. Some people are going to need to see 30K. Some people are going to need to see 42K. Some people is going to need to be a year later. But to me, I'm leaning more likely that it was the bottom than not. And again, this is crypto. No one knows anything. If anyone knew, they'd be a trillionaire. And so this is all educated guesses, but I think that might have been the bottom, man.
Yeah, I think that you're spot on, and I'm on the same exact camp as you are. And I've brought this up in a prior video, and I think people kind of think it's just kind of hogwash because it gets said so much, but Bitcoin is programmed. All of this stuff that we're seeing, it's all done on
Supply and
purpose.
demand economics, and
Exactly.
unit cost basis. There's so many theories. You're mining Bitcoin. Right now, I just checked less than 24 hours ago. It's around $21,000 to mine a Bitcoin. There's obviously different things with electricity costs, but you mine it for 21, you sell it for 23. Hey, I got a good business. I can mine 2 every month. I make 4K. That exceeds my cost of electricity. So you're making your 21K off of it. Well, it's going to get cut in half. Bitcoin rewards are going to get slashed. And the next thing you know, well, that Bitcoin that cost you 21 costs you 42. And so what are people going to do when Bitcoin's 26K, 24K? Do they want to sell the Bitcoin for 30K if it costs them 40 to make it? Or do they hold on to it until it exceeds 40 and then they sell? History has proven that miners don't mind holding on to it for months and months and months at a time, sometimes years. I don't see human psychology just switching overnight. That's
I
my 2 cents.
Yeah, I completely agree. And my thing is we have had this happen. I think this is the third, or is it the fourth cycle?
Well, some say, you can kind of look at the 14, but yeah, you look at, obviously 21, 2017, 2014, and then you could say this is the fourth. But, some try to say there's like a mini cycle in 2012. But yeah, this is, most would consider this is the fourth cycle top. And every time it's been a diminishing return as well.
Right. So that I completely understand, and maybe I can get your thoughts on some of the altcoins outperforming Bitcoin in just a second. But the fact that it's happened 3 or 4 times, depending on how you're counting it,
Well, going into the fourth, yeah, it's happened 3 times. Yeah.
That's what has me on this side of the camp. Because again, the first 2 times it happened, I was a little bit younger. I was a lot more naive, and I was worried about other things other than crypto. I didn't understand any of it. I didn't understand the economics. I didn't understand what was driving it. I didn't understand its utility. And so looking back now, I'm like, man, it's literally the same thing continue to happen over and over and over. You
Yeah.
know, so to me, it's as plain as can see. Now, I do want to say that the Bitcoin halving is going to be predicted right now to be in spring or about Aprilish of 2024.
Or
So we
yeah.
still have a little bit of time to go until we really get, that huge influx of people coming in after the halving, right? Because of
Yeah,
what you just said.
if there's going to be a parabolic top, it's 2 years from now, and so
Mhm.
it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Gotcha. So before we move things on along, I know you got a tight schedule. What's your take on altcoins outperforming Bitcoin?
Man, I think most the good altcoins are going to outperform Bitcoin, but then when things start to bleed, they bleed more than Bitcoin, except for
Mhm.
a few choice favorites there. Yeah, I'm starting to scale into some L1s, some I'm looking at some L2s. I already have a decent allocation into those, and I have been dabbling in some of these under $20 million market cap coins, and I've been doing phenomenal with them lately. Now it's like, okay, things have been, it's too many weeks in the green. I'm sure something has to, bottom's about to fall at some point. And that's the problem with some of these riskier altcoins. You'll gain 30%, 30%, 30%. You're like, oh wow, I made so much money, and then it'll just lose 80% in a week, and you're like, you'll just wipe out everything. So just be careful when you're dealing with the micro caps. But yeah, there's plenty on my radar I've been looking at, and there's been a lot that have been really having some good movement lately.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I've been looking at a lot of layer twos, specifically within the Ethereum space, right? So
All
I've
right,
been
so what
looking at.
L2s do you like?
I like Polygon. I like Avalanche. I'm keeping my eye on a few other like smaller or lower caps, but the fact that Matic or Polygon has had so many partnerships with Coca-Cola, Disney, and then Avalanche more.
Starbucks, yeah.
Yeah, and then Avalanche more recently, I think it was like Amazon, onboarding. That just screams to me adoption. And when you have those bigger companies coming in, you know that all the liquidity that they normally have within, the traditional space is also going to be following suit. So they're doing a great job. I like them. But what are you looking at?
Well, L2 specifically, yeah, I like Matic. I had bought some Matic lease recently, and then I like IMX, Immutable X. It's a 500 million market cap, so there's not a whole bunch of upside there, but there was really not that much upside with a lot of L2s and L1s unless they're like really small. But yeah, they're doing really big things on the gaming side, and I was a big fan of Gods Unchained way back when. So that was like my first NFT I bought over 2 years ago. And so
Gotcha.
I think IMX could be poised, but again, it's a high market cap, so it's not going to have that much of an upside potential. It could IMX. I'm looking at it 583 million. So that's a 500 million. It could go to 10 billy maybe. So that'd be a 20x on a moonshot price target. I would say it's a potential 20x there, but I'm saying 2.5 years from now, not a month from now.
Right. And I think that's one thing that all the viewers should definitely be aware of is, all this price action is not going to happen overnight. It does take time. And like I said, that's what I learned as a part of the last cycle is it
Yeah, I
comes
mean,
very quickly, but go
well,
ahead,
look
go
at it
ahead.
this way: December 2017,
Hmm.
November 21, and so that means like October 25. That's a long time from now.
Yeah. So continue to accumulate, guys. The last thing I want to hear is people asking for, for the accumulation training to keep on sticking by when it's time to pull off. And I feel like that always happens. People are scared to invest when it's cheap. And once the price starts going up, they get the FOMO and they're like, man, I wish I would have invested more. So instead of, being in that train, do what you know is right. And that's invest now. Obviously, DCA and what DZ and I are saying is not financial advice. Always make sure to do your own research. All right, we're going to move things along, DZ. Let's talk a little bit about market trends. I'm sure you've heard and you've been talking a lot on around the blockchain about AI adoption, right? There's OpenAI, there's Dolly, there's Midjourney. There's just so many different platforms right now that are riding this AI train. We now also have, I believe, Microsoft investing up to $10 billion into OpenAI, right, which is the founder behind ChatGPT. What are your thoughts on AI? Where do you see NFTs going? And I think those are two separate questions. So maybe let's first focus on AI.
Oh, AI is like overblown and utilized and undervalued right now. So it's this kind of weird thing. I really feel like most people's takes on AI, it's a doom and gloom, singularities around the corner. Arnold Schwarzenegger's about to stick his middle finger up my what. Or it's like it's a nothing burger. We're 10 years away. Elon doesn't know what he's talking about. And really, I think it's a nuanced approach. I think it is Going to be a huge tool for startups. I think it's a huge tool for certain microcosms of the economy. I think people who are writing code, yeah, maybe they need to worry if they're not a high level programmer. Maybe you need to make sure you have some job security with Chat GPT or start using it. I think it's not great for graphic designers. People who just do random logos or maybe make thumbnails. If you're in the YouTube space or you like to just do things with NFTs and you put them in the Discord and they pay you $50 a week. I think those industries are going to be disrupted greatly. And I think a lot of people it's going to not change their life whatsoever. Those are the NPCs walking around, the person that, you might see at the post office or the Walmart. And you're like, who is this person? What do they do? Is this a real individual? And so with AI, I think there's going to be some arbitrage there's opportunity with some coins. I think with the last pump that they had with over the last 2 weeks, maybe wait for things to cool down. But again, not financial advice. I don't know. I would find the AI coin that hasn't pumped.
And I think now there's probably not too many. I know that at least in the Cardano ecosystem, we saw Singularity Net do like a 5 or 10x in a matter of like a week or two about a month
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. I don't
It's
like
kind of
chasing
cooling off.
10Xs personally.
Right,
Call me
right,
crazy. I don't like to FOMO into a 10X after it just did that in 1 week.
right. You'll catch yourself eating a big red one. Okay, moving on. Let me just get your thoughts on NFT growth and adoption. What are you thinking about that there?
So NFT growth is going to happen when people, that next wave of retail, people don't like to admit this, but the next wave of retail is going to be here to get rich. They're not going to be here to empower artists. They're not going to be here because of Web3 ideals. They're not going to be here because they love decentralization. They're not going to be here because they hate Gary Gensler. They're going to be here because they want to buy a picture for $1 and sell it for 2. And I think, we're going to need to see that huge influx of capital. And I think that will happen after ETH pumps and Bitcoin pumps. And so right now it's going to be a slow trickling in, and the people that slowly trickle in now are going to be the ones with the outsized returns. I think there's definitely some good blue chips to buy right now. Hey, I just bought, what I consider a blue chip on Cardano in this past week. So I'm scaling in slowly, just being careful because we could be low for 6 months. So you don't want to just shoot your whole wad at once.
Right. Do you mind sharing with us what the blue
I
chip?
got a Gutenberg Bible. It's the books.io. It's their OG drop, and it dropped all the way down to like 685 ADA. ADA was like 38 cents. I jumped in. They were around 1,000, and I think it's a long term play. They are dropping too many books for my taste. They're watering down the brand, the whole ecosystem. So I think the rookie card, the Bible is where the money's going to be at.
Yeah, you can't beat the OG or the first ever mint. And shout out to the Book.io team. They just went multi-chain. They had their first ever mint on Ethereum as well as Cardano for the Alice in Wonderland books. All right, DZ, I know you're tight on time, so we're just going to keep moving along. Next, I want to talk about growth on Cardano specifically and what your experience has been, right? I know you guys launched a project on Cardano. So do you want to talk about the good and what you think could be done better in this ecosystem, given the fact that you've dealt with so many other blockchains and you just have a lot of experience, it seems like, within
Well,
the crypto
I'll tell you
space.
what Cardano's doing that's working. One, Charles Hoskinson doing a fantastic job being the face of the coin. I know people like to joke he's the CEO. Of course, he's not the CEO, but the outsiders look at him as the CEO. You got to figure like, all right, people look at him like Elon is to Tesla. They think of the same thing Charles is to ADA. I know that's not how it is. Calm down. That's not IOG. The foundation. There's people freaking out right now. So I think on that end, hey, they're doing a great job. He's speaking regularly. He's getting in front of Congress. He's saying the right things. He kind of has a weird thing with the Falcon and it's the way he dresses. So it's like a little bit of like a Richard Hart element with like a little bit of a Vitalik element. So he's doing all the good things there. Cardano is also a good price point. It's under $1. You can think of it going to $10. That's kind of what the Moon Boys are wanting to think. So the price is good, the token supply is good, the non-custodial staking is good, although that's more for the nerds. What they're not doing well, it is confusing. It is a little nerdy. They do focus on the wrong stuff. People's eyes glaze when you say UTXOs, and no one cares about that stuff. But everyone, the builders think everyone cares, but no one cares about it. If I'm going to be frank here, some people care, of course. I'm speaking with hyperbole when I say everyone. Sure, some people care. The vast majority of people do not care about that at all. You're like, Ethereum NFTs aren't even on chain as the interplanetary file system, you idiot. And they're like, I don't care. I don't care about that at all. And so we got to get away from like we got to care about what normies care about, and not what the nerdy guy in the back of the classroom that turns in credit, is like, oh, teacher, I did those 10 essay questions. And you're like, God, this nerd. That's the vibe. That's what people think of when they think about Cardano. You go to NFT NYC, they're like, Cardano's lame, it's dead, it's stupid. Then you go to a Cardano NFT or a Cardano conference, and they're like, we are by far the best, and no one's even touching us. And so there's just this huge disconnect. And for them to truly succeed, they have to get out and, look at the world through other people's eyes.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I think those are valid points. I love Charles's approach to how he does everything within the ecosystem. I found the comment that you made about Richard Hart and Vitalik that to be pretty interesting. But I will say to your last comments, I think that the ecosystem is primarily builder based, which is why we kind of have that nerdy vibe, right? Now, I think that once we do get to have some of these dApps start to kind of go off the shelves, we will start to see a bigger crowd come in. And I think that's when we're going to finally be a part of the cool kids and have that general crowd of people that are coming in here to, like you said earlier, flip NFTs from $1 to make it a second dollar, right? So right now, I will say it is pretty tech heavy because there's not much else built in live, right? We're just finally getting Jet today, which is the first over collateralized stable coin on Cardano. So that's like a huge step for DeFi. But you look at Ethereum and they're like, we've had this for
Yeah,
years,
5 years. Yeah. Shout
Exactly.
out to the Cody team, by the way. Doing
Yes,
a good
no,
job over there.
extremely big shout out. They brought, I think it's up to 22 million ADA in terms of TVL in the first 3 or
And
4
let me say
hours of
this:
Jet
there's
launching.
nothing wrong with a minimum of 5,000 to mint. Like,
Hmm.
you guys aren't thinking right. Like, I mean, do you think you can go to the Tether Foundation and say, "Hey, I just want to do 4,000 Tether"? They'd be like, "You got to add a comma." Same thing with Circle. You can't go to Circle and say, "Hey, Circle, give me 300 USDCs." They'd be like, "Take your butt to Uniswap." And so that's what I would say to people complaining about the 5,000. All right, go to MinSwap. It's
Yeah.
not a big deal. 5,000 is incredibly low for the ecosystem.
Right, right. And I think they did a pretty good job of at least trying to make that clear in their article saying, hey,
Yeah.
if
No,
you guys
like
are smaller
literally,
fish,
it's 1,000 times smaller than what you'd have to do with Circle. A
right,
thousand. Okay,
right.
you got to go to a Circle with like 1,000,000, 10 million. Okay, you can't go there with pocket change, and that's what $5,000 is when we're talking about crypto foundations. It's pocket change. It's a gas fee. Okay, so yeah, the 5K isn't that big a deal. It's not a. It's a nothing burger to me. It's actually bullish that is that small. That's how I
Hmm.
look at it.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now I want to just ask a quick one, and this is a little bit off scripted, but we have JED, which is over collateralized, right? But then we've also got a fiat backed stablecoin coming in, being released by Emergo, which is going to be called USDA. So, like,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on the adoption of either? I personally have not had the opportunity to kind of really deal with stablecoins that often, but like, what do you see being the go-to within the
Well,
Cardano
no
ecosystem?
collateralized or over collateralized algorithmic stablecoin has ever succeeded at scale, ever, ever. They've all failed. 100% of them. They all fail. They all go to zero. With that being said, I don't know. Something about that Cody, something about Cardano, something about it's less money to manipulate.
Hmm.
You don't have some whale that's just going to inject $300 million into a smart contract to break a coin. I think I don't know. I'm not like behind the scenes with the whale movement and Cardano like that. But to me, it seems a lot more. It's less targets on its backs versus an Ethereum coin. So I mean,
Hmm.
I don't know. I think there's some upside to it because it is so risky, and so I hold a little Cody, but I'd be more comfortable. Like, you can't touch it for 10 years.
Hmm.
Probably give me the USDA.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Okay, pretty interesting take. I'd love to kind of see if that changes in the future, if I'm able to ever get you back on here. But we're gonna keep things moving along. We got just a few minutes, and I
Yeah,
want to
let's talk a
respect
little
your time.
Voomio before I got to roll, man. Voomio,
Go for
man,
it.
we're doing pretty big things over there. We've invented new Cardano smart contract functionality that no one else is doing. I'm not the tech guy that could say, "Yeah, we did this with Plutus." I'm not him. I could set you up with those people. They'll talk your ear off about it. But yeah, what we're doing with Voomio in the Cardano space, I'm really excited to show it off. We're gonna be the first aggregator on the chain that where you can buy NFTs. So I'm really excited about that. And I think we're just going to be doing a whole lot of good for the space because Cardano is treated as well. And so we just want to return the favor and just build a super cool product and the world's best marketplace. We eventually, ETH, Polygon, Cardano. We're going to launch with those. We might beta test Cardano first. I don't know. It's a little bit it's less people interacting with that chain, so there's less people building on that chain, so it's like it's less tested, so we might want to test more. And so it's going to be interesting. I just can't wait to launch Voomio and show everybody what we're doing.
No, that is awesome. That is awesome, and I'm definitely going to be looking forward to it as soon as you guys release. If you can give me a heads up, man, I'd be more than happy to shoot a video detailing how to get access to it, how to purchase NFTs, and all the ins and outs of the actual marketplace. So, in closing, I just want to ask you, are there any closing thoughts that you want to share with the community? And then at the very end, how can people get in touch with you? Obviously, I'm going to leave the links to around the blockchain, as well as the BitBoy links down in the description below. But yeah, just go ahead and close us out.
Yeah, you're going to want to sign into the Voomio beta, voomio.io. Get in early. We're going to close it pretty soon. So hurry up and get in. And I will give you my Cardano price prediction for the next bull run and Bitcoin right here. I think Cardano can go, I think a 3x is a little tough, at $3, that'd be $9. I think $9 is doable, but I'm more looking at like a $5-6 range. Maybe a lot of rejection around 5, a lot of rejection around 6. If it can pass that, I think it can maybe be right up to $8.50, $9, which would be a 3x. My Bitcoin price prediction, Bitcoin last did a 3.5x. It went from 20,000 to 70,000 essentially. This time, I think it's going to be a 1.5x, which would put it right at 105, and it might not be able to pass 100, so it might top out at like 95, 97, 98K. I know it's really bearish, but, you never go broke taking profits, so I never mind taking profits when it's a little bit early. What I do hate is writing a coin down to zero because I took no profits.
Yeah, no, trust me. I've learned from this last bull market to definitely make sure to take my profits out along the way. And it's interesting to hear your prediction. I watch George from Cryptos RS quite often, and I think his prediction is somewhere around the 200s. So
yeah,
again,
George also said it's going to 100 last time and said don't sell it. And if you would have sold in March, April, you could have bought in lower at June and July. And so, hey, he ended up, when he was saying don't sell it, hey, it topped out in November. So, maybe you did okay. But imagine if you were able to, gain Satoshis, that would have been pretty good. Hey, we love George, but George, he leans a little bullish.
Yeah, no.
Shout out to George's dog, the dog that always pops up. Keep barking, my friend.
George is definitely, I would say, like the master bull, and he's actually been one that's energized me along the way, because sometimes you get bearish and you need something to cheer you up. So he's always done a really good job of delivering on that front. But I do want to thank you, DEEZY, for your time here and for your mathematical outlook and your Bitcoin predictions there at the end. Hopefully,
I'm George, you're George, we're all George.
We're all George. There you go. So you guys, this is it. Again, DEEZY from Around the Blockchain. If you guys are not familiar with the BitBoy network, I'm going to go ahead and leave the links to all of their socials down in the description below. Give him a follow on Twitter. Again, I want to thank you so much for your time. I honestly did not even see this happening. And so again, man, it really does go a long way, especially, given the fact that you have so much going on throughout your day. So thank you very much, DEEZY. I appreciate you. You have a wonderful day, and you're always more than welcome back on the channel.